Joan.
Good morning, everyone. This is my maiden voyage into chairmanship. So if I stumble, I have enough people here to back me up. You're at the audit committee meeting. I want to introduce two of the members. Jenna is here. Jenna and Karen is here. And the internal audit team has also joined us. Jenna's going to introduce them. I'm glad to have you here. You guys work so hard. Welcome.
Yes, thank you, Joan. We have joining us Nick Powers.
But I didn't know it was on us.
Oh, they're looking. They can hear us.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
We can hear you now, Buffalo.
Okay.
Thank you.
But I
Thank you,
can't hear
Michelle.
them.
No, we can't hear that. We have our internal audit team, which is Nick Powers sitting next to me. And then we have Gia Wu, Greg Meisenbacher, and Mama Dewberry with us
But
today
that
as
has to be
well.
on their end.
It's on their end, yeah.
So we're going to start with the review of the minutes from
So that
November
dinner about
8th meeting.
Albany.
Yeah.
You guys in Buffalo, mute
No.
yourself. I think they did. Have the folks had a chance to review the minutes of the last meeting? And does anyone have any suggestions for changes? And I hear none. May I have a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll move.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you. So the minutes have been approved. The next review is the audit committee charter. There were no changes to the charter. And so I would recommend that we approve it. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Beryl.
Second.
Thank you, Al. And then we move to the internal audit department charter. That too had no changes. May I have a motion to approve that as well?
I'll move.
Thank you, Beryl. Thank you, Al. So now we're going to move on to the reports. So we're going to start with Karen. Karen, would you go through the internal control report?
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you, Joan. The first item under my report this year are the internal control guidelines, which were attached to the mailing. The internal control guidelines were last updated in April of 2018. I am not recommending any changes to the guidelines at this time. DASNY continues to comply with the OSC guidelines, which were last updated in 2016. There have also been no updates to authoritative internal control pronouncements, so no changes would be needed. In addition, DASNY's underlying policies, procedures, guidelines, processes, et cetera, are periodically updated to address changes in the environment. So the internal control guidelines are a high-level document and would not be expected to change on a regular basis. Does anyone have any questions on the guidelines? Okay. Next, I'd like to talk about our internal control program. The first item that I'd like to bring up is our control self-assessments. This program was started in the early 2000s. DASNY put together cross-functional teams to identify activities within a particular functional area, risks to the achievement of those activities, and the controls in place to mitigate the risks. If weaknesses are identified, they are addressed by management. That's a program that we started back in the early 2000s, and it helped us look at various functions throughout DASNY. It's been a very well-received program, and I know a number of the units use those completed documents as training tools for their new employees when they come into DASNY. Does anyone have any questions on the program overall? I'll get into some details, but I know we have some new committee members, and I just wanted to let them know what that program was all about. The control self-assessment program is ongoing, and the business decisions are based on risk to identify which control self-assessments we want to look at. The IS equipment control self-assessment was updated during the last fiscal year, and control self-assessments for grants and SEEKR, which is the State Environmental Quality Review process, are currently in process. I also work with management on a periodic basis to identify additional CSAs for completion. In addition, any observations that have been identified in previously completed control self-assessments are being addressed by the functional units with responsibility for those observations. Does anyone have any questions on the control self-assessment process?
I have a little bit of a question. So you do the self-assessment and then Jenna, do you look at those assessments as you do your audits?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
We incorporate that into our risk assessment and our discussions with management.
Okay. And how many have you done? I mean, how many do you have to do? Probably continuous, but
It's a continuous process. We periodically do new ones,
Mhm.
but we've done close to, I want to say 30, 32 at this point. And so more often what we're doing at this point is updating them for changes in processes.
Great, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Karen?
No, none here.
No, I'm good.
The next item on my agenda is internal control training. The New York State Office of Employee Relations is expected to release very soon the updated internal control training that all New York State employees and also public authority employees are required to complete. I believe last year it was released in May. So as soon as that's released, we will push that out to all DASNY employees for completion. In addition, we have an internal control steering committee that is made up of the president and the vice president, the managing directors, the director of internal audit, and myself. And we meet periodically throughout the year to discuss various internal control topics. 3 meetings have been held since my last report in May 22, and the next quarterly meeting is currently scheduled for May. Does anyone have any questions about the internal control steering group or the training?
So Karen, it's Al, you meet quarterly?
Yes,
it's-
we meet
it's a fixed
quarterly.
Meeting quarterly, okay, right,
Yes.
thank you.
I mean, we missed a meeting because I came down with COVID and wasn't able to meet, so we had to push it back a little bit.
We'll forgive you for that.
Yes, thank you. The goal is to meet quarterly. And then if something should come up in between those meetings, I certainly reach out to the appropriate managing director, or, I mean, I meet with Paul regularly anyway as my supervisor. And then if I needed Ruben, I would certainly reach out to Ruben.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you, Al. The last item on my agenda that I'd like to discuss is the internal control certification. No changes have been made to the template that DASNY uses to certify its internal control program, which is required by the authority's budget office. The authority's budget office does not provide a form to be completed, so DASNY continues to use the form provided by the Division of the Budget for state agencies. We felt as an organization that was an appropriate form to continue to use. So I'm currently in the process of completing that form, and that will be submitted as part of our annual authority budget office reporting in June.
Karen, have we ever got, it's Al again, have we ever gotten any questions about our submission, that particular certification submission?
No, we have not.
Outstanding, that's great.
Thank you. In addition, we also have management certifications. All management employees within DASNY sign certifications to support the certifications signed by the president. We have the annual internal control certification to the authority's budget office. And the president also signs an internal control certification to the Office of the State Comptroller for SFS. Currently, the internal audit function is performing their review for the SFS certification, and that will be submitted at the end of April. That is due April 30th. To support those certifications signed by the president, management employees at DASNY are asked to sign a certification. Currently, we anticipate 48 signers for the 22-23 fiscal year. 8 of those 48 will be signing for the first time. Last year, we had 45 signers and 5 management employees have separated. So that gives us a total of 48. Does anyone have any questions on the internal control assessment and certification program?
No.
Thank you very much. That completes my report. Jill.
Thank you, Karen.
Joan, could I just, on the
Sure,
record,
Bill.
just want to state what a great job Karen does annually on this. And sometimes it doesn't get all the publicity it should, but is a critical part of what we do every day. And in addition, Kelly Shanowski, who works under Karen, also works on all our procedures, which are also one of the underlying sort of critical things we do at DASNY to ensure that both, policies, procedures are kept up to date, and they do a fantastic job collectively. So I just wanted to publicly thank Karen for all the work she does in that area.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. I think we don't, as managers, we take it for granted, or you're somewhat of a thorn in our sides. But, being diligent about it is what makes DASNY a premier agency. And I think, from my old career, I remember we always used DASNY as a model. And I think it's all the work in the background that really brings it to that level. So thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Joan. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Paul.
Thank you. We're gonna.
Thanks to everybody. I like that. It's Al
Feel
again.
good today.
Let me add my voice to Paul's and to Joan's. Karen and I have worked together at a distance, but for a long time. Internal control variables have always been difficult for me to understand, and they're easily tripped over. I asked Karen the question whether the ABO has ever raised any question about what we submitted, and Karen emphatically just said no. There's a great deal to be said about an internal controls manager who is that comfortable with the quality of her work, and Karen doesn't brag; she just gets it done. Karen, thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Al. I'd like to now move on to the internal audit report, and Jen is going to present the report.
Thank you, Joan.
You're welcome.
Today, I will be presenting the results of our fiscal year 23 audit plan and then proposing for your approval the fiscal year 2024 internal audit plan. The internal audit team has successfully completed a variety of engagements and projects in addition to the areas on our plan over the past year. I'm going to start by highlighting a few of those accomplishments more specifically. In support of continuing education, the team attended a variety of training, including industry-specific construction and information security training. The team also coordinated audit activities with KPMG, reviewed 31 internally and externally hosted applications over the past 2 years as a part of account management access review, and expanded the construction audit program, highlighting risks, controls, and compliance with contracts. The internal audit team has been tremendously supportive over the past year, and the results of the work presented today is a direct reflection of their hard work. Now I'm going to turn to our 2022-23 audit plan status, which is included within your materials starting on PDF page 5. Overall, the internal audit team has completed 20 engagements to date, including 3 IT audits and 3 business function area audits. That concludes this portion of my presentation. At this time, I would like to request to go into executive session. Joan?
May I have a motion to go into executive session to discuss the financial and credit history of particular corporations, proposed, pending, or current litigation, in the employment histories of particular persons with matters leading to the appointment of employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of particular persons.
So
May I have a
moved.
second? Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you.
In session.
I'd like to note that we've just concluded an executive session and that no action was taken in the executive session other than to return to the public session. Jenna just reviewed for us the audit plan, and I would like a motion to approve it, the plan moving forward. Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Al. Second?
All right.
Thank you. Okay, the audit plan is approved.
Your name in the minutes. Very exciting.
Before we move on, I wish I could just ditto what I said about Nadine, because again, I think we just witnessed how disciplined this group is and how thoughtful they are in terms of their audits. So congratulations to DASNY for a great audit team. Thank you very much.
you. Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
Joan, may I? may I
Sure, Al.
One of the most difficult, in my view, positions in any internal company that has internal finance facets is audit. I take very seriously the need to be sure that all of the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. It's an important function, but the people who perform it are very often viewed as suspect. It's sort of don't tread on me. I want to. What's interesting about DASNY, and I take this very seriously, and I embrace it, is that DASNY takes very seriously the internal audit function and does not make those jobs difficult to perform. I wanted to say to all the staff members present and for the board as well, that we've got a great internal audit team and they're doing a terrific job. And the only time you know that they're not is when we're in trouble. So we keep our fingers crossed and hope that that never happens. Jenna, thank you.
Thank you, Al.
If I could just make a point of clarification,
Sure.
this is, while the council's office definitely supports the audit team and internal controls, you said that you made a reference that to me, Nadine, but I think you meant Karen.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't- I could ditto what I said to Karen. You're right. Nadine, you're great too. If there's nothing else, I'd like a motion to,
Madam Chair, before you make the motion, just two
Sorry.
quick things. One is, this is early in Jenna's audit and leadership, and she is just taking that on wonderfully, works very well with myself and Paul and the rest of the team. So I just want to echo everybody's sentiments for how well she has done on organizing that, and her team's just been fantastic. And before we go into the full board meeting, just a personal apology. I had a emergency I had to take care of out of the city, so I'm on Zoom today. But again, no real issues, but just had to take care of some personal items.
well, at least you're healthy.
Everything's okay.
No, everything's fine. I guess not. I'm getting a new roof that the roofer couldn't come next week. He had to come this week. So it's not real interesting, but important to me.
Got to do what you got to do.
So I apologize.
No problem. Could I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Great. The meeting is adjourned.